Good morning. My name is Brad Dudley. I teach the Breakfast Club Sunday School class at First Baptist in Scottsboro. Thank you for taking time to watch this morning, and I look forward to the day where we can have church as normal, and hope you'll join us when that day comes. This morning, before we begin, I need to get a couple of disclosure statements out of the way before I begin this short lesson. One is that a lot of this morning is strictly my opinion, and I understand that everybody has an opinion. I understand opinions get some folks in trouble these days. And so up front, I will tell you that I will try not to get too opinionated, but if I venture off and offend anybody, it's not my intention at all. Just know that. What I will back it up with are scripture from the New Testament, and certainly that is not opinion. And so I just need to kind of get that out of the way. The second thing is that I need to give just a word of thank you and appreciation, and that is to the Scottsboro City School System, Scottsboro High School. And thank you, Dr. Reyes, Board of Education, Mr. Paradise, all the staff at SHS, especially thank you to the senior sponsors, you teachers who put so much time into these seniors and the class of 2020 themselves. And it's been a great couple of weeks, and as a father of a graduating senior, it's very much appreciated that you guys did the work and made it happen so that these kids could have a great ride. And so with that being said, I kind of want to move into the lesson now. And I guess I kind of gave it away a little bit, but over the last couple of weeks, I've done a lot of thinking and praying and worrying and all the good stuff that comes with being a parent of a graduating senior, and watching this class and all these kids, in particular my daughter, in the next chapter of her life that lies in front of her. And they're a great class. They're a great group of young men and women. They'll go on to do great things. They're a close-knit group. And but as a father, I kind of think it's my duty to just kind of warn her or remind her, encourage her, whatever you want to call it, of some of the things that I think are going to be very important for her in being successful in the next stage. And as I started doing this, it occurred to me that this is not just a message for those seniors who have just graduated. This is a lesson for me. This is a lesson for my friends, my family. This is a lesson for everyone in my circle. It's a lesson for our leaders. It's a lesson for my city in Scottsboro, and my state, and my country. And so this morning, I just kind of want to share my heart just a little bit on 6 guiding principles that I feel like that we always need to be able to come back to. And so let's begin. We'll be in the New Testament, kind of jumping around a little bit. But first this morning, I'm going to start with 1 Corinthians in chapter 9 and verses 24 through 27. Let's see what Paul says here. It says, "Do you not know that I am in a race, or that you are in a race with all the runners, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable gift. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and I keep it under control." Paul here is telling us that we are to run a race to win it. Run it to win it. He's saying get yourself to the point where you can be in a winning position. And so this morning, my first reminder for all of us, my first reminder for my daughter moving forward, is I'm going to have to remind you that every day you have to compete. You have to bring it every day. Competition here, Paul is talking about competition in the form of an athletic sense. I don't really think he's talking about that. He's using that as kind of an example to explain what all of us should realize it as, and that's just life. Life is a competition. You have to compete every day. And if you think about it, it's really true. You know, all the things worth having in this life, you got to compete for. You know, once your schooling is done and it's time to go get a job, it's time to make your place. If that job's a good job, many people are going to want it, and they're all qualified. And you're going to have to compete for that job. You're going to have to do the things it takes to prove your worth, to stay in that job if you get it. At some point in time, you're going to come to the realization that you probably would like to get married. Every spouse, if they're worth having, you're going to have to compete for that person. It's true. Every young man, every young lady, if they're worth their salt, many people are going to want to spend their lives with them. You're probably going to have to compete for that person. You're going to have to compete for your place. You're going to have to compete for your respect. It's not going to come easy. As a Christian, we are given a chance to get a free gift of salvation, but that still comes with a cost. The cost is that we have to choose to give up those material and sinful things in life so that we can live a life as Christ. Not anything in this world is going to come free. That's my first reminder. I think Brother Shandy covered this very, very well 2 or 3 Sundays ago in the senior service. But again, that's my first one. It's what I, for many years now, have tried to remind people in my circles, especially students, is that nothing in life is free, and you got to compete. You got to bring it every day. But somebody out there wants what's yours. The second one is I want to ask you a question, a real simple question. Are you a help or are you a hindrance? Are you helping or are you hurting? That's a choice. In just about everything we do, in every crisis situation, we have a choice at that time to either help the situation or to hurt it. Let's look at what Scripture says in James, and James is going to remind us here in the 2nd chapter, verses 14 through 17, that it's just not good enough to admit or restate the problem, and that just talking about the problem and not having an action plan, that's not worth anything. So James tells us, he says, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but have no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, keep warm and well fed,' but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is that? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead." It's a very powerful statement. James says, if you only have faith and no action to go with it, that's a dead faith. That's strong. If we're simply restating the problem, if we just keep talking about the problem, but yet not offering any help or trying to figure out a way to solve it, we're spinning our wheels. You know, I think a lot of times, and here's where some of my opinion comes in, I think a lot of times here lately, we all get caught up in watching TV, talk about all the problems we have going on in our society. I don't really see any TV shows focusing on a way to actually fix it or solve it. There's no action plans. They're reporting all the negative stuff. They're reporting all of the bad stuff going on. But we don't spend a lot of time talking about how to fix it. We see all the protests, sure. But at the end of the day, the protests, they will stop. And at some point in time, there needs to be an action plan put in place to help solve these problems. We either have a choice to help or hurt. And unfortunately for us, a lot of times we choose to hurt the situation because we react. Reactions a lot of times lead to hurtful decisions. We say things before we think. We do things before we think. We want revenge. We get mad. We want all of these things that are immediate reactions. Rarely do we stop and think, okay, how can I help this situation? So an example of helping a situation is one I heard the other day. I was really impressed and taken away by this example. And those of you who know me, you know I have a favorite college football coach. He resides in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My second favorite, though, is a man named Eli Drinkwitz. He's the head football coach at Missouri. Brand new coach, rookie, first-year coach in the SEC. I don't know a whole lot about him, but I know enough that I really am taken back and impressed by some of the things he's done to this point. And I'll give you an example. On June 3rd, Coach Drinkwitz participated in a protest with his players in Columbia, Missouri. And instead of going over and turning over a police car or setting fire to a building, throwing rocks at police, this group of humble student athletes marched, walked down the street, went to the courthouse square there in Columbia, Missouri, took a knee on a moment of silence, and then he and his administration, his coaching staff, helped to register 62 young men to vote. Most of these young men were past the age of 18, meaning that they probably were not going to register to vote had someone not assisted and helped them. Coach Drinkwitz and his staff have my ultimate respect for trying to find a way to help a situation. Not only to help this particular situation, but by registering to vote, he gives them a voice for as long as they live on this earth. It's a huge deal, and that's a great example of how to help and not be a hindrance. The next one is I'm going to ask you and I'm going to challenge you moving forward to be real. Be real. It's very simple and it's very to the point. You can't fake it all the time. Be transparent. No smoke and mirrors. Just be real. Be real with the people in your circles. Be real with the people you work for. Be real with the people who you represent in your employment, in your family, and just be real. Be real. Speak real. Act real. When nobody's watching, be real. That would be my third simple but very, very important challenge. Don't get caught up in trying to be someone else. Don't get caught up in trying to be like another group or someone else. You know, I think this is something I'm very proud of my daughter for. You know, I've watched her grow as a young lady, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm very proud that she understands who she is. She's grounded, and I believe that to be the case for her. I would challenge all of us just to be real. Don't try to be who we aren't, and just be true to who you are. The next one, I'm going to ask you to invest. Invest. Not in the sense of financial or money terms. I'm not talking about invest as far as sinking some money into something and hoping it does well stock market wise. It doesn't have anything to do with that. I'm talking about investing in relationships, investing in the things worth investing for. I'm talking about being all in. Get all in 100%. Wherever you go to school, you be great and you be 100% in to your studies and your discipline at that place. Wherever you find a job and you go to work at, you be 100% in that place. When you get married and you have a family, you be 100% in to being a great spouse and to being a great parent. And if you're a Christian, be all in for Christ. Be all in for God. That means sacrifice. It means prioritizing. It means self-discipline. But remember where you came from. And remember that any blessing you got simply because of Christ anyway. So be all in. Be ready to give thanks. Be ready to sacrifice and go another route when God tells you to. Be all in. In Colossians, in chapter 3, there's a couple of verses here that again, Paul tells us in 23 and 24. It says, whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord, and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Paul's saying give 100%. You know, everybody talks and uses the phrase give 110%. It's not possible. Nobody needs 110. We just need all you have. That's 100%. Give 100% of everything you have into what you're doing. But make sure it's the right thing and it's worth doing. Be all in. A little earlier in Colossians in chapter 3, a couple verses up, in 17, it says, and whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. It's great advice from Paul. It's a challenge that we all need to remember from time to time. Be all in. The next one begins with an S. It's called sincerity. I'm going to ask you to be sincere. Now, this is a tough one. It's a tough one because sincere has many, many different meanings. Webster, as a matter of fact, has 3 separate meanings for the word sincere. Sincerity, according to Webster, is free from dissimulation, meaning it's honest. It's free from adulteration, meaning it's pure. And it's marked by genuineness, meaning it's true. Be pure. Be honest. Be true. Being sincere will ask you to do things that are not easy sometimes. There's going to come a time when you have to give sincere, honest, actual feedback to someone. It may be even worse than that. There's going to come a time when you got to be willing to take that feedback from somebody. Be sincere. Be sincere with your thoughts and actions. Don't say things that aren't true just to make somebody feel good. Be sincere. The greatest leaders I know, the ones that have made an impact on my life, haven't always been the ones that told me everything I wanted to hear, but they told me what I needed to hear in a way that I could accept it. That's the mark and characteristic of a great leader. Be that guy. Be that lady. Be sincere. In Galatians 4:16, I love this verse. It's one we've heard a lot. But Galatians 4:16 says, have I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Because somebody tells you the truth does not make them bad. Our first and natural response, again, going back to my first point, is that sometimes when we hear the stuff we don't want to hear, we like to react in a wrong way. Sincerity means it's coming from the right person in the right place in their heart, and it's the right message for you to hear at the right time. Be sincere. The last one is treat people right. Simply treat people the way you want to be treated. I'll be very short with this one, and I'll sum it up this way. If you don't want to be judged by people, then don't judge people. If you don't want to be talked about, then don't talk about it. If you don't want your name on social media and Facebook and somebody running you down, then please don't go to Facebook, Twitter, or anything else and talk about it and run people down. You treat people the way you would want to be treated. Treat people the way you want to be treated. That's a simple, but yet so hard of a challenge for us to take a lot of times. But it's very much true, and it's very much a part of what I would wish for my daughter and everyone else moving forward. So, in kind of conclusion and wrapping up, I want us to think about pandemic aside, put that aside. But I want us to think about all the other troubled things going on in our life, all the negative things going on in our life. I'm going to be willing to bet you that we probably could look back over one of these 6 reminders and just see or pinpoint one and bring it over here and apply it to our lives. And it may not solve the situation, but I bet you it would make it a lot better. I think it would. We need to compete and just work hard every day. We need to be a help and not a hindrance. We need to be real, transparent. Can't fake it. We need to be all in, all the time. We need to be sincere with how we do things and how we treat people. Lastly, we just need to treat people the right way. If we would do these things, I really feel like we would all be a little more Christ-like. And that is always good. Hope you have a great week. Until next time, God bless.